So hi, I'm then Mike Allen Mappa from ECE21, and the experiment for today is Boolean values and conditional execution. So the objectives are becoming familiar with the input function, becoming familiar with the comparison operators in Python. So the first scenario is using one of the comparison operators in Python. Write a simple two-line program that takes parameter n as input, which is an integer, and print false if n is less than 100 and true if n is greater than or equal 100. So first uh, n is equals to int parenthesis input, then print parenthesis n is greater than or equal 100. One more parenthesis, then try again the code. Let's try the sample input 55 false, then let's try to run it again. Then another sample input which is 99 false, then run again. 100 true, then 101 true, negative 5, false. Then the last sample input for this scenario is positive 123, so true. So let's proceed to the next part, which is comparison operator, comparison operator and conditional execution. So the objectives here in part 2 is becoming familiar with the input function, becoming familiar with comparison operators in Python, becoming familiar with the concept of conditional execution. So the first scenario, or the second scenario, is Spathiphyllum, or more commonly known as peace lily or white sail plant, is one of the most popular indoor house plants that filter out harmful toxins from the air. Some of the toxins that it neutralizes included banes, and ammonia. Imagine that your computer program loves this plant. Whenever it receives an input in form of word Spathiphyllum, it involuntarily shouts to the console the following strings. Spathiphyllum is the best plant ever. Write a program that utilizes the concept of conditional execution. Take a string as an input and print the sentence. So these strings will be our guide in making the code. So let's try. So word equals int and input, then enter the best plant ever, semicolon, in parentheses, then enter. If word equals Spathiphyllum, Spathiphyllum, As you can see, if we use the if, then we enter it, it will automatically have indentation. This just means that the code if is working properly. So print yes equals Spotify is the best. It's the best plant ever. Then let's use a leaf. Word equals Spotify loan. Then print oh, I want a big Spotify. As you can see here in our conditions or in the given scenario, in the first in the first string, they use a big S, uppercase, the first letter of the Spotify, while in the second case, it used lowercase letter. If the inputted string is Spotify, so here we will use it. This will be a small letter S. Then for else, so here are the codes, and let's try to run this. Invalid syntax. Always check the codes. So so there is an error. The name word is not defined because we have a typographical error here in our first line. We use the minus, so supposedly we should use the equal sign. We have so many errors in this part. Name error, input only, and this should run. So test data Spotify Yes, Python Italian.
It's the best. I want a bigger.
Mhm. It should be S. And try. There it is. We have fixed the code and it works properly. So another one. Let's try to run this. Mm, Pela Pelargonium. So and last one, for the sample input, we will use a big letter S in Spatifylum. And there it is. Works properly. So for the third scenario, if else instruction. Objectives: familiarize the student with using the if else instruction to branch the control path. Building a complete program that solves simple real life problems. So scenario: once upon a time there was a land of milk and honey, inhabited by happy and prosperous people. The people paid taxes, of course, their happiness had limits. The most important tax, called the personal income tax, PIT for short, had to be paid once a year and was evaluated using the following rule. So if the citizen income was not higher than $85,520, the tax was equal to 18% of the income minus $556.02. This was the so-called tax relief. The second one is, if the income was higher than this amount, the tax was equals to $14,839.02 plus 32% of the surplus over $85,520. Your task is to write a task calculator. It should accept one floating point value, the income. Next, it should print the calculated tax rounded to full dollars. And there is a function named round which will do rounding for you. You'll find the skeleton code in the editor. Note: this happy country never returns money to its citizen. If the calculated tax is less than zero, it only means no tax at all. The tax is equals to zero. Take this info consideration during your calculations. Look at the code in the editor. It only reads one input value and output a result, so you need to complete it with some smart calculations. Test your codes using the data we provided. So this will be our guide in making this part 3. So first is income. We'll now use the float. Income is equals to float then input enter the annual income, semicolon, then float if income is greater than or equal 8552 then tax is equals 0.18 times income times income minus 556.2. Then else tax is equals to 0.18. That should be equals to 14,839.2 plus 0.32 multiplied by income minus 85528. Then tax round tax 0 if tax is less than or equal 0, then tax is equals to print tax is so this should work. Invalid syntax. Why it has an invalid syntax? Because it should have equal here. So the sample input here is 10,000 and the tax is $1 then our code is working. We have completed this output, but let's try again. Then let's use 100,000. It is $19470.0. But let's try 1,000. 0.0, the expected output. And last not the least, negative 100. So that's it. It's very simple. Just be more careful in writing codes because one wrong code will cause error. So before running it, always check if you have a complete codes or if your codes are right. So part 4, if elif else statement. So objective, familiarize the student with using the if elif else statement, finding the proper implementation of verbally defined rules, testing codes using sample input and output scenario. As you surely know, due to some astronomical reason, years may be a leap or comma. The former are 366 days long, while the latter are 365 days long. So since the introduction of the Gregorian calendar in 1582, the following rule is to determine the kind of year. If the year number isn't divisible by 4, it is a common year. Otherwise, if the year number isn't divisible by 100, it is a leap year. Otherwise, if the year number isn't divisible by 400, it is a common year. Otherwise, it is a leap year. So, look at the code in the editor. It only reads a year number and needs to be completed with the instruction implementing the test we've just described. The code should output one of the two possible messages, which are leap year or common year, depending on the value entered. It would be good to verify if the entered year falls into the Gregorian era and output a warning otherwise not within the Gregorian calendar period. Tip: use the exclamation, equal, and percent operators. Test your codes using the data we provided. So first, let's put the year equals input year input if year is less than 1582, then print not within the Gregorian period, and if year percent 100 is equals to 0, colon, then print leap year, and leap, here are the conditions, then year percent 400 equals to 0, then print and we will now use the else. Print So this should work. Yeah, invalid stuff. Oh, we forgot to put an exclamation. Here also. This should work. So year 2000. And we forgot something. There is something wrong. Mhm. Year is equals to int int input year leap year. Oh, the problem was in our first line, but let's try again. So the sample input is 2000 and the expected output is leap year. Then for the next one, 2015. It is a common year. And let's run again this. Then 1999. It is a common year. Then the sample input is 1996. It is a leap year. And lastly, the 1580, which should be not within the Gregorian calendar period. There, the code runs well. And for the last part, the part 5 while loop. So while loop objectives, familiarize the student with using the while loop, reflecting real life situations in computer code. Scenario: a junior magician has picked a secret number. He has hidden it in a variable named secret number. He wants everyone who runs his program to play the secret number game and guess what number he has picked for them. Those who don't guess the number will be stuck in an endless loop forever. So our task is to have the magician complete the code in the editor in such a way that the code, we will ask the users to enter an integer number while use a while loop. Then we'll check whether the number entered by the user is the same as the number picked by the magician. If the number chosen by the number is different than the magician's secret number, the user should see the message, haha, you're stuck in my loop, and be prompted to enter a number again. If the number entered by the user matches the number picked by the magician, the number should be printed to the screen and the magician should say the following words, well done Muggle, you are free now. So the magician is counting on you, don't disappoint him. By the way, look at the print function, the way we've used it here, called the multi-line printing. You can use triple quotes to print strings on multiple lines in order to make text easier to read or create special text-based design. Experiment with it. So we just need to copy this code, and I have made this experiment earlier, so I can just we'll just copy and paste it. So that's it. Then we will now follow the conditions here. Then x is equals to input enter your guess. While x equals secret underscore number. Enter if x is equals to secret underscore number, print haha. Let's try to put so many hahas. You are stuck in my loop. Then x input enter your guess here. I forgot the semicolon. So that's it. Print well done. Model you are free now. So let's try different numbers like 5, 6, 5, 4, 8. The code are running well. As you can see, we are here in the magician's loop. This is an endless loop until we put the right number. So if we put the secret number, which is 777, this code will the loop will break. So there, well done Muggle, you're free now. So here we have discovered, or we have learned the input function, comparison operator, and conditional execution, if-else instruction, test data, if-elif-else statement, and the while loop. So for recommendations of, just practice and practice. Don't be scared to try new things. It is okay to fail. It is okay to make wrong things, but after you have after you fail, just make sure that you have learned and fix yung mga problema sa codes. So, ayun lang. Huwag lang matakot na mag-try na mag-try. As you can see, nag-fail ako kanina. May mga nakakalimutan akong part, di ko napapansin. Pero, as I run the code, matututunan ko na ito yung mali ko and then just to continue and fix the code. So, that's it. Then Mike Allen Mapa from ECE 21.